biashara in Kenya is an extreme sport.
All right.
And so I think for me, that's when I started now getting the hang of it. So I think about 2008 is when I now said I formalized my own thing.
You've been very key when it comes to associations in Kenya, and that is what I've really known or identified you with. So formation of associations, startups, welfare groups, my suppliers.
Pain also brings people together. What is the pain? Yeah, undercutting. There's an issue of pricing. There's an issue of we want to come together and remove all those guys who are now bringing, because the undercutting was one of the biggest issue then.
Right.
And so when we came together, we realized whatever is plaguing associations right now is giving value.
Lack of coordination among associations, so the associations are not in. It's that the associations are weak.
Yeah.
And we need strengthening the existing association. There's a lot of high fragmentation. And I know we've been really championing for association for so long, but I want us to base this conversation in associations. Martin, what is not happening in associations? So what is this high fragmentation? Everybody akona association yake, guys are not in order, people are not renewing their subs. I don't know. What is not happening in the associations in Kenya?
Associations are not giving value to its members.
All right.
Because if you don't give value, you will not get renewed subscriptions from your members.
All right.
You will not get new signups. You will not get people interested in joining your association. Many people, especially in our entertainment field, we are mostly driven by FOMO. And I can say that was the original, because I represent Events Organizers Association of Kenya.
Yeah.
And we registered in 2019.
So that's EOAK?
EOAK, yes.
Yeah. So, and is it possible for us to standardize, or it's a free market? Because I see now, you are saying, because this Chama, it's good. They have their own equipment, well and good, it's good investment. But again, I'm looking at it on a bigger perspective for mice.
Wait until things go wrong. We are having issues in terms of conflict resolution. We are having that a client has refused with our money, delayed and all that. So that's when people now run to the association. But otherwise, when everything else is okay, no one will come to the association. And that's why we need also to make more noise at what is it that the association can do for you more than you can do for yourself.
So why are they getting into association? What exactly do they need in the first place? Because by the minute nitaingia association Jumato ameingia, I'll get in because if my videographer Frank is in, hata mimi nitaingia. So I think it's best if the association members or any my stakeholder, if you're getting any association, kind of have an objective. Don't get in because your peers really got it. Have an objective. One, is it maybe to build networks? And sometimes you get to association to build network. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Simon Peter. We are once back again, the Mike's ambassador as usual. So today actually we are glad to have our guest. He's called Martin Kibati. Martin has been in the event space for the last 17-18 years. He has been here for the longest actually, and Martin is well known for the association that actually has been championing for EOAK, and he has been very key in really mobilizing most of the event suppliers in the country. So chances are high if you're in Nairobi, event suppliers, you've engaged him at some point in your line of duty. But before we proceed, I want really to commend our partners, the Clarion Hotel. So the Clarion Hotel is a 3-star hotel based in the heart of Kenya, capital city. So the Clarion Hotel has 2 boardrooms, 4 conference rooms, and 62 rooms. So then that means you can have your event in the same building and also sleep, eat, drink in the same building without looking for another venue to facilitate it. It's a well-furnished facility. Security intact, nice food, and when it comes to internet connectivity, it's fantastic. So let's have a look at Clarion Hotel. So back to our guest. So how are you, Martin?
I'm good.
So thank you actually for gracing our podcast.
It's good to be here, Simon.
Great. So actually, I've been trying to engage you for the longest time. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you've really accepted our call.
Yeah.
So you've been very key when it comes to associations in Kenya, and that is what I've really known or identified you with. So formation of associations, startups, welfare groups, my suppliers. But before we get there, I really want to understand who Martin is, where did he come from, what is his background, and how did you get into the event space in Kenya?
Wow. The introduction, I'll correct some things a bit there, but it's fine.
Right.
Yeah. I think I started straight from the time I left high school. There's something we used to call ex-candidates.
All right.
So from that time, we actually took some time off because we want to transition from high school now to the next level of education. So at that point, I think many candidates will go to something we call the ex-cans. And so the ex-candidate I used to go to was at Nairobi Baptist. And there we had a group where I joined the music ministry in church and all that. And so through the music ministry, I got that passion for setting up audiovisual.
Yeah.
We used to have those events like the Nairobi 2000, which was one of the biggest events held by the organization called the Kenya Youth for Christ.
Right.
So for me, that's where I got the passion for setting up audio and visual then. Because we used to tour around Kenya singing and visiting schools, campuses as well. So I think that's one of the things that gave me the passion to go into music. So I tried proceeding into it, and as you can tell, in my generation, parents are not so keen on their children joining music, and so for then music was very difficult.
You're right.
So I think by that time I got employed. I went to the corporate world. I got employed, so I went into aviation. So but while still in aviation, my passion was I've always wanted to open up a music studio. I've always wanted to just venture into events, maybe audio, because by then the visual wasn't that big, lighting and all that, because the lighting we have now is not the LED lighting that we had then
before.
Because there was some, I mean, people used to call them packans, but there are those hot things that if you put a few of them here, you just be feeling heat in this space. So they were like 1,000. They're 1,000 per. We used to call them 1,000 per. So I think when I joined employment, so I wanted to open up my own music studio. So I tried also going into studios. I tried doing things. I remember the late Bruce Odhiambo. There's a time I recorded some advertisements, like voiceover for advertisements. I met with a few musicians here and there. That's when I started now knowing the industry. And then the interest grew, and I started thinking about why don't I formalize and open my own thing. But before that, I partnered with a few people trying to do business, and by then I was still naive. And I got the short end of the stick. Let me not divulge a few details. And that's when I started realizing that biashara in Kenya is an extreme sport. And so I think for me, that's when I started now getting the hang of it. So I think about 2008 is when I now said I formalized my own thing, and I opened up Sage Events now as a sole proprietorship. Then I was joined by my wife. Then I made it into a partnership, and then I formalized it into a corporate and a limited. And by then, I think the reason why I went into a limited is because when you do weddings, that's what the initial thing I was doing. When you do weddings and events, you go and meet the people who are in those corporate fields. And so by then is when I started now going into corporate events, small here and there. And the requirement by corporate is that you have to be compliant. And that's the thing about the events industry, especially the wedding industry, is so unregulated. Yeah, it's very unregulated. So anyone who can do it, they'll start. So long as I have the passion, I have the equipment, there are no barriers to entry. So anyone who wants to join the industry, just because your friends tell you you can be good at something, you just continue by. There's no regulation.
So actually,
that's when I joined. That's when I started now doing the events, corporate events. I got the compliance. Again, I didn't know anything to do with accounting. I got again the short end of the stick in a certain way, where the taxman followed me in a certain way, and I realized I had some penalties to pay because of ignorance. So I just went on learning. until now I got the hang of it and went to fully now into events organization and technical provision of events and all that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's actually quite intensive, and based by the conversation you're having, you really actually learned it the hard way. And there's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And it's like so you had like this big picture, but it wasn't as clear.
Yeah. You are just driven by passion. That's all that is driving you at that point. Yeah.
Then it all gravitated now into the audiovisual space.
Yes.
You really mentioned something about you really have passion for music. Where did it come from? I've realized you and music same WhatsApp group.
I don't even know where that passion came from. I think from my young age, because there's no one in my family who's into singing.
All right.
So it's something I don't even know how I went into singing, but it's something I realized I had a passion. Because even straight from high school, I was in the school choir. So we used to go around with the school choir, and we were being coached by another, we used to call them the conductors, the choir conductor. And he coached us. Then when I joined Kenya Youth for Christ now is when I found myself now, because we had a vocal coach. And before I went into the corporate world, into formal employment, I had gotten an opportunity where I could venture out to go into the US for music. And this is something when I realized I had an option. One, go to States, do music, or get formal employment here in Kenya.
Yes.
I remember my father looking at me. I was like, "What is music? What is music? What are you talking about music?" And by then, when you're seeing people who are singing, they had dreadlocks and all that. Those are criminals. They are wakora. You know how they used to tell us.
There's that profiling,
and it does not pay. So there was a lot of profiling, and there was lack of understanding on how the entertainment sector was also earning people money. So so I had to make the choice.
All right.
And the tough choice was now going to formal employment. But still while there, now I was actually, how else I came into planning events, I used to sing at a lot of weddings. So most of my friends called me, "Hey, buddy, you sing at my wedding, So I used to sing at a lot of weddings.
So which means even today you're a good singer.
I can sing. I'm still a good singer. But I used to sing in weddings. So I was called sing in weddings and all that. So I was like a wedding singer. I was a wedding singer.
So are you guys like a band or solo?
By then? No, I was solo. So what I had done, I remember I had this friend of mine who went to America and she came back. She had linked me. She's the one who introduced me to Bruce Odhiambo. So when I met him, when I wanted to do a track, I get a certain song, maybe Luther Vandross or whoever. So he goes, removes. By then, we didn't have the technology we have today of getting a track and removing the vocals and remaining only with the track as a backup track. Right. So you have to go to a studio for them to remove that for you, remove the vocals, remain with the track. So now I go with that to weddings. I used to be with it. Because now I'm the guy who has, the track and all that. I don't have a band. By then, a band was very expensive. To have a band actually to act as a backing track. So that's how I started. Now that's why
band is very expensive.
It's still expensive, but not like then. Because then to consolidate one team of a guitarist, a keyboardist, a drummer, and all that, it was very difficult then.
All right.
So that's how I started now singing, and that passion grew over time, and it's a beckoning that just used to tug in my heart for such a long period of time.
So that's quite interesting, but it's good to really clarify in regards to that. So today actually we were at KCC, reviewing the My Strategy. So it's a validation workshop, and one of the key issues that the consultants were trying to highlight was that lack of coordination among associations. So the associations are not in, it's the associations are weak, and we need strengthening the existing association. There's a lot of high fragmentation, and I know we've been really championing for association for so long, but I want us to base this conversation in associations. Martin, what is not happening in associations? So what is this high fragmentation? Everybody akona association yake, the guys are not in order, people are not renewing their subs. I don't know. What is not happening in the associations in Kenya?
I can say one thing. Associations are not giving value to its members.
All right.
Because if you don't give value, you will not get renewed subscriptions from your members.
Right.
You will not get new signups. You will not get people interested in joining your association. Many people, especially in our entertainment field, we are mostly driven by FOMO. And I can say that was the original because I represent Events Organizers Association of Kenya.
Yeah.
And we registered in 2019.
So that's
we
EOAK?
Launched EOAK, yes.
Yeah.
So we registered in 2019.
Yeah.
And by the time 2018, and by the time we were doing that, there was a drive of people coming together because there were other associations that were in play who maybe people were feeling they were not comfortable in joining, or they were feeling maybe the terms of joining were a bit too high and all that, so they could not fit the bill, if I can use that word, of joining those kind of associations. So people said, let us form our own. And again, comes to the fragmentation. Let us form our own, the middle guys, because ours, we are the middle guys. There's just one for when you work on a pesa mingi, because we are the small guys. But we realized our association is the one actually that has the inventory.
All right.
Because out of our maybe 150 to 200 plus members, these guys own a lot of inventory, from the tents to the decors to the lighting to the audio visual to flooring, you name it. Any equipment you need, like teleprompters, things for mice, So we discovered that we have a lot of inventory. And when we come together, people came together again for more. Some people don't even know. They're just saying, oh, you are joining. You're not in EOAK, join. You're not in EOAK, join.
Right.
So mostly we are driven by for more.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Then there's a long journey ahead that people don't think about in terms of strategy. Like, why are you bringing people together? And then what? After that, then what? It's the same way, even when we are planning a wedding, one of the things we advise people is you really think so much about your wedding day, but you don't plan for your marriage. And that's the thing people don't do.
That's deep.
Yeah. So you're thinking so much about the day because there's a lot of hullabaloo and psych, pomp and glamour. Then the day ends like this and you're like, wait a minute, the day has just ended. Now is when life is starting. It's not when now I'm married I can relax. The work starts now. And that's the thing we forgot most of the times, even as an association. We came together and we had a committee of about 8 to 10 people, then from different qualifications, different strengths. And again, you need also a diverse group of people where you can also be able to achieve, because we had one common target. Let's try and change this industry. Because people come together. Again, pain also brings people together. What is the pain? Undercutting. There's an issue of pricing. There's an issue of, we want to come together and remove all those guys who are now bringing, because the undercutting was one of the biggest issue then.
All right.
And so when we came together, we realized whatever is plaguing associations right now is giving value. Because sometimes you bite more than you can chew. Because we put together a very good strategy, a 5-point strategy, had a very big launch, and we kept on telling guys, we need to formalize this thing. Yes, we've registered, we've done all the registration requirement, we've gone together and done the documentation, the SOPs, association management, in terms of the documentation and everything that we required. But in terms of our strategy, how do we want to achieve this? But since you have the numbers and everyone is there, and we have the WhatsApp group and everyone is conducting business, so it's okay. It's business as usual. So we are fine. The people, we have brought people together and they're okay. But we're forgetting, as an association, there's a lot more to do than just bringing people together.
Okay, interesting.
Because there's that aspect of lobbying. There's that aspect of compliance. There's the aspect of education. You want to upscale your members. There's aspect of CSR. There's a lot of things that an association can do, but that's one thing we didn't look at.
So then you've really emphasized that the reason why associations are not performing well in Kenya, it's because of driving value. So what does this value look like? So what value needs to be driven into this association? So if you actually say that, I'm looking at it in the perspective of, I've paid my sub, I'm expecting value. So what are the expectations of the members once they join the association? Because once I know, actually me, associations are purely for lobbying. So, and just try to self-regulate. What does value look for their
I think when members? There's always strength in numbers, number one. Because the more you are, lobbying is one major thing. The more you are, you can also command an audience. And so one thing we say is, in regards to lobbying, the events industry has long been plagued by other players within the industry who are unregulated. Because while we are seeking within the association to become compliant, you are only a fraction of the people who are outside. And I remember there's one of our members who was conducting a wedding and events group or something, and she had an wedding events awards. And when they were getting sign-ups through their website, the website actually crashed at some point because they got over, I don't know if she said 8 or 10,000 sign-ups. The website crashed. These are events people. 10,000, where are they? While I'm talking about 200 members within our association. Where are these other 10,000? Because, so you see, you are a fraction of the people who are out there who are unregulated. And one of the biggest problems that we had was catastrophic. Was the industry is unregulated. Why? Because the barriers to entry are so low, anyone can do it. Actually, today, you cook nicely in your house, your friends tell you, but then you can become a caterer. You're very good in catering. Tomorrow you buy equipment, you start catering. You host nicely in your place, people tell you, oh, and many of them, when you hear many of our planners and organizers and coordinators, that's how they started. People just saw a skill and said, hey, but you can be good in planning. And they started.
Which is good.
So you begin, it's good, it's not bad, but there's more to running a business rather than the shillings and the cents that I'm getting, the money in, money out. There's also the aspect of what? Compliance.
So they also to conform like with the standards that are existing.
So while we are trying to conform and try to standardize prices here and there are people who are outside there, they don't care. Them I know, my 2 tents have gone out, 2 tents have come back, I've earned 5K, 10K, 20K. It ain't broken. Don't try to fix it. So for them, they are saying, so why do I need to join the association? I'm still getting my money. Lobbying with the government for what? Me, I have no deal with the government. I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing. So when you're trying to harmonize all these things, and there's that aspect of which we've seen even in our African governments, there's lack of that civic education and educating the masses and telling them, just public participation, come in, let's come and reason together and see what do you think this industry can do for you? What do you think is what is there? And by the time you're bringing into compliance, you're realizing actually you're making more money than what you were before, because you are doing biashara chini chini, trying to hide because I don't want the taxman to find me, and they'll still catch up with you because one day you're going to grow and you have to put yourself out there. So why not just start even when you are small as a business and it's already rolling into your business and you become compliant? It's a well-oiled wheel. So for us association, the value was looking like bringing people together, number one, which is not that easy. When you bring them together, what value am I going to give to them? One, I'm telling you that when you come together, your business is going to grow. How is it going to grow? One, even you as a business owner, we are upskilling you in terms of education. Are we partnering with other education institutions where we can bring some sort of standardization into the industry? Like what does orientation look like into the events industry? Ama just anyone can do it? Do you have some sort of certification? And they are like TUK, Technical University of Kenya. They are giving those courses, but how many people know about them? You just do because you want to do. And then how do you leverage also on this market? Because there are clients who come and say, do you have a certain type of certificate? If you don't have it, they won't give you that job. So there are always some people who have a certain monopoly. Why? Because they possess some qualifications, which you think, because I have experience for 17 years, regardless of my experience for 17 years, there's someone who has a certain certification over that particular thing I'm attracting, and has been here only for 5 years. The client will give them work and leave me out, despite my experience. Why? Because in Africa also there's that thing about the paper is what carries the day. So we're telling people we'll upskill you, and also upscale your business, because as you grow, your business also grows. And then another thing is that education part of it, leveraging on partnerships, and also asking, getting lobbying with the government as well in terms of regulation of the market. The more, the better. If it's regulated, doesn't mean we're locking out other people from coming in. We want people who come in that they are interested in the industry. It's not just a one-time thing.
So Martin, do you want to tell me in Kenya we do not have a policy or a regulation for the mice space?
Do we? I don't think so.
All right.
Okay, for me, if it's there, maybe someone tells me, but I don't think it's there. There are many people who've been trying to push for that.
All right.
Very many people I know who've been trying to push for that, and they are SMEs in this industry, but we are not making headway. Again, it's because of that lobbying. Once and you lobby if you have the numbers. And then you tell, and I remember there's a time you tell people, oh, now we want to train and start on compliance. People refuse because they're feeling like, hey, you're exposing us. And when we did our survey, we discovered in the events industry, almost 50 to 60% of us, actually it may even be higher, because when we did that it was about 2020, 60 to 70% of people who are in the events industry, events is not their main thing.
It's like I said,
this is the other thing you do. So when you ask someone, what is it that you do? They say, I do events. So if you ask someone, what is it I do events? What does I do events mean?
All right.
It means I don't want to specialize, but I can do everything. And so we discovered that while me, it is my bread and butter, I'm struggling to go for compliance and all that. This other person is employed somewhere else. This is just the other thing they do. We have chairmans who come together and say, oh, this year, what can we do? Let's buy a tent. Let's buy an A-frame. And once we break even, so they can charge as low, even below market rates, because then they just want to break even and make a bit of profit. Then next year they say, oh, next year let's do what? Let's do chairs. It doesn't mean they're just passionate with events. It doesn't mean it's what they wanted to follow up with. And so you see, all these stakeholders, they mess up the pricing.
All right.
And so you find these people, it's the other thing they do. But the people who, this is my bread and butter, are few and far. And so you are struggling to break even or even get return on investment. Why? Because other people are getting sponsors, whatever, and you are there struggling with your own business. You're wondering, why am I not making headway? And how is this person making money? But it's not the only thing they do. It is just that this is events is like a side hustle.
Yeah. So, and Martin, is it possible for us to actually standardize prices? Is it something that is practical? Are we able to standardize? Because I'm looking at it this way. For instance, I normally see most of the audiovisual, they say, I think the minimum they charge is 10K, that comes with 2 mics, I don't know, 50, 100 meter power cable, then 2 speakers, and an MC. So, and another technician for setup, exclusive of logistics. So, that's nice packaging, but does it mean it's also 8, and you'll find another one charging the same 20,000, and someone else something similar 30,000.
Another one 8K or 5K.
Oh wow, interesting.
I saw that on Facebook the other day.
So, and is it possible for us to standardize, or it's a free market? Because I see now you are saying because this Chama, it's good, they have their own equipment, well and good, it's good investment. But again, I'm looking at it on a bigger perspective for mice. So if I make this thing 5K and you have 20K, huyu anaribu biashara ya mwingine. So is there a way for us to actually standardize? Is it possible, or this is a facade?
That was the initial,
and if so, who? It
was an initial reason as to why even EOAK came together. People are talking a lot about undercutting, and it's. I think it can happen twofold. I believe it's possible. It is very difficult, but it is possible. For me, I believe it's possible. How? Right. As you've mentioned, associations. Because when you make associations, like a must for you to be there, a part of an association, especially in terms of regulation, that even the client feels scared that I cannot deal with this one hit wonder, because I don't know, he's not affiliated to any organization or association that is known. I don't know whether he'll deliver. You may have very beautiful, photos. People can steal photos, very beautiful online. It's not about the photos, it's can I go to his work? So in terms of standardization of pricing, we had tried that with our association. Now the problem is this: you and I, we do audiovisual.
Oh, that's something you guys tried at the association?
Yes. Right. So you and I, for example, we are in audiovisual. So today, a client comes to me, and the problem with this market in the events industry is that the pricing is regulated by the client and not you, the business owner. How does the client regulate? Jeff comes to Martin and asks Martin, how much will you give me PA system today for 2 mics, blah, 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 I'll give you for about 25K. And that's a standard, it's kind of like a standard rate, because in terms of the workload, equipment, wear and tear, transportation, logistics, all that, you factor in the cost, and also your return that each of this equipment is, there's wear and tear. So when you factor in, the client says 25, okay, sawa, I'll get back to you. So the client comes to you and tells you, Simon, by the way, Martin has given me PA at 20K. How much will you give it to me for? So they'll not mention that I gave it to them at 25.
Right.
So they'll come to you and say, Martin has given me PE at 20K,
Right.
but my budget is, what will you give me?
That's
so you
manipulation.
say, but he's given you all that at 20K. And you are shocked that, Martin has given you all that at 20K.
Yeah.
So what I can do, since I want the job, and I don't have any job, my jobs are few and far. Okay, I'll do for you 18. But 18 is low, but only for 18. But please, don't tell anyone I've given you for 18. That is a Kenyan thing.
All right.
I'll give you
so
this,
Kenyan.
but please don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
That is a code for tell everyone and every friend that you have. So don't tell anyone that I gave you at 18. So you'll do at 18. But this client will not come to you at 18.
Yeah.
He will look for another vendor or supplier and tell them, hey, Mike, I've gotten, can you give me the PA at 15K? They will now come because they are getting bolder because they realized you don't have a standardization. So the client will be bold and go to the third person and say, I have this gig, it's running from this time, and I have 15K as a budget. Will you do it? Yes or no? And you are there like, hey, I don't have any job within the next 2 months. Sawa, 15K. So the price has shot down from 25K
all the way to
15K. At what percentage of margin is that? It's almost close to almost close to 40%.
Actually, yes. Actually,
that's 40% reduction in our pricing. So the client is one who is regulating the market as opposed to you, the business owner, regulating. So you and I, we are at loggerheads because you're like, why is Mato undercutting like this? Why is Mato charging at 15K? Why is Mato charging at whatever? Whereas it's the client who's regulating. So if only associations, we came together.
All right, that's interesting.
In terms of giving value, is our work is one, lobbying, and our work as an association is two, make the noise out there such that even clients know about here and we tell them, by the way, our members are one, vetted, now two, our members are value members and they are professional, they are compliant. So when we do our job for you, you are guaranteed that we are giving you a guarantee that you'll get one of the best service, professional, and actually is value for your money.
Yes.
And so when we tell this out there, you want now to drive members to come into the association. And that is what will drive members there. So it will get that, again, we are driven by FOMO. So it will drive people now to associations and everyone will want to be somewhere, to fit in somewhere,
Yeah. So I think also saying that the membership is driven by FOMO, and this fear of missing out, actually, it's really putting, association heads at loggerheads. And you find that also it comes to the members, they need to have some introspection. So why are they getting into association? What exactly do they need in the first place? Because by the minute nitaingia association Jumato ameingia, I'll get in because if my videographer Frank is in, hata mimi nitaingia. So I think it's best if the association members or my stakeholder, if you're getting any association, kind of have an objective. Don't get in because your peers really got it. Have an objective. One, is it maybe to build networks? And sometimes you get to association to build network. The second thing is upskilling and capacity building. At times you may not be able to capacity build on your own. So then you find, you get like formal training that is even cheaper if you had done it. It's cheaper as compared if you had done it, as an individual. Now, being having led associations, specifically being EOAK, so what are some of the challenges that members really face? So what are these issues that are really crying for, and what are the challenges that are there in the mice space in regards to the suppliers?
I think one of the biggest issues I've seen is we are having a lot of our mice events going to other countries, other regions, like you're going now Rwanda, like Tanzania, and why? One, because of, again, support. There's a lot of support from their own government, number one. Number two, there's regulation. There's regulation where you've heard I've mentioned a lot about, because bulk of our members were about 60-70% were within the entertainment and the wedding industry. But you find these same people who are within that industry are the ones who service also the MICE events. They're the ones who still service the MICE events and the business events. So you there's no clear cut that I'm concentrating on a certain niche. We don't pick a niche, so I can play anywhere. So when the industry is unregulated, it means even for those people, there are those people who don't have any inventory. So their work is, I am a PCO. So I'm a professional conference organizer, and that is my work. So this person is at a disadvantage. Why? Because the person who has inventory and they say they are a PCO, they don't have any certification from any relevant
Bodies or
body,
something, yeah.
you know, so they say they are PCO, and when they're given the job, just because I've handled maybe an entertainment event, a wedding event and all that, I know how to coordinate and plan. I mean, the internet is your playing field. I can go to Google and get anything and get the skill and everything that I want. So you find many people, we are having a challenge of one regulation. We're having a challenge of certification where we're having people who are not certified. I remember there's some years back, I think 2018 or 2017, I lost a job to a client, and I was asking for about, and by then I think I was undercutting myself to organize a conference. I was asking for something like 600K. But the person the client gave was brought from SA, and he was paid 2.5 million.
All right.
And I'm like, Yani, you can't give me 600K. Is it that I didn't look believable? Or is it that I could not deliver? But I've done a lot of conferences. I've organized even people coming from out of the country. You know, I've organized Oxford University. I've done something. I've done for Kina Melinda Gates. They've had an event here.
Right.
And I've done those events. But if that as a portfolio is not enough, I realized we don't have that certification. So in terms of also education, capacity building, because we have places, and if they are there, they have not made that noise in terms of we can do capacity building. And that's where also associations fail. Because giving value to your members, you tell them, we have partnered with relevant bodies that can give you capacity building in this way. One, we want to train you how to plan and coordinate events. You need to get the certification. But people will always run to association only when there's a problem, not when things are good. When I'm having a flow in my calendar of events, everything is continuing and I'm good, my money is coming in good, no one will say anything. Wait until things go wrong. We are having issues in terms of conflict resolution. We are having that a client has refused with our money, delayed and all that. So that's when people now run to the association. But otherwise, when everything else is okay, no one will come to the association. And that's why we need also to make more noise at what is it that the association can do for you more than you can do for yourself. Besides the networking and besides the lobbying, what more is it that we can do as we come together as associations to give and deliver value also to our members?
Okay, interesting. So a challenge you said is that Kenya, we are losing business to our neighbors. And the second you said in regards to challenge was you've actually highlighted that most of the members, they come to the associations when they have problems, but not when things are good. And the other thing you've actually highlighted, it's members joining an association for the sake of joining because their friends have actually joined. So, and lastly, what other challenges are we looking at the members actually face?
I think one of the things we're looking as members is, as time goes by, there's a lot of inflation. There's inflation. And the client you're dealing with today will still want the same rate tomorrow. And we also have, again, that is also an education kind of gap. Where once you educate someone, there's a client I've had for so long, and they still want the same rate year in, year out. And you're forgetting that every year there's inflation. There are tax things that are increasing.
The cost of
operations, manpower, all that. You can't remain the same. And I've worked with this client for like 10 years. So the moment I just hike to cater for this inflation cost, there's a lot of noise and uproar, or you're undercutting, you're expensive and all that. But again, I think it's just that value. Where I think also in terms of, is it civic education, I may call it, or something like that, where even the clients who are out there to know that, you know what, for you also to be safe in terms of the events that you're doing and the business events that you're doing, you need to have certified events people. That in itself will drive it in another way, that as the association is making the push for the members to be certified and compliant and all that, on the other end, the client is now the one who's looking for these certified people. Because right now, with the onset of Pinterest, with the onset of Google, people can plan for themselves. I can do a floor plan. I can create a floor plan. I can coordinate an event, just draw up a list and go now. With the onset of AI, I can just ask it to create for me a form I can use to create, to plan or coordinate a conference. I become a PCO there and then. So again, is the client also seeking for that certification, or even for them, because they're also looking to make to save some money.
Yeah.
So this person who's not certified obviously will be cheaper than the person who's certified. So also it has to come, it's two-pronged, from the other side of the association and the members themselves, and the other end of the client also to be aware that also it's to your organization. It is to your benefit to get someone who's certified and someone who has been vetted in the industry, not just someone who is going to the Facebook and seeing photos, oh, I've planned this conference, I've done this conference, and it's very good, but they have nothing to show for it. Then later on, the same client will come running also. I've had a few clients running to the association, oh, there's this vendor who did this. I'm like, they're not our member.
All right.
Because as far as I'm concerned, our members, this is what we've done in terms of compliance with them up to the point where we are, So, I mean, there are many challenges, and then the barriers to entry. As I mentioned that in the beginning, they are so low that anyone can do
get
it.
into the market.
Anyone can get into the market. And we don't want to lock people out. We just want the right people in.
Yeah. Okay. What happened to EOAK?
Wow. Long story, but
Make it
to
short.
make it short. EOAK,
Yeah, because actually even I remember when you guys were launching, you did a very huge and a big launch.
Yes.
And I remember there was a legislator, KJ, so really took part in the same, and he said he vowed to support. Then after the launching, then you guys disappeared from the scene.
I think EOAK, we had the right strategy, we had the right team in place, we have the right members. The thing is just consistency, and that's the thing I said about our events industry. COVID did a good number on many of us, because when 2020 hit, COVID actually messed up a lot of people. People went into either psychological issues, financial issues, family issues, and all that. And so when everyone sinks into their own space, first people said, you know what, let's wait first, and this thing will pick it up. But the problem is, by the time you're coming to pick it up, you've lost so much of a mileage. And so what we're trying now to do is trying now to pick up the pieces and see, now that people have stabilized, what can we now do? Because there was no events happening.
So actually,
COVID.
even the time it was, it was on a slowdown. It was the COVID period.
Yeah, the COVID period.
All right.
Because we were very active before that. But now when the COVID hit, everyone went into their own space.
All right.
From the leadership to all the members and all that.
Okay,
and so
actually a tough time.
we tried a bit of lobbying. We did some surveys with our members. We tried talking to, by then, the conference bureau. We were trying to see partnerships with them, partnering with some government institutions to see how we're going to do it. Other stakeholders like the hotel keepers and all that. So we tried. But the thing is, even as you're trying, other people are trying to survive. Everyone was on a survival mode.
Yeah.
So you can't per se blame people and say people are not active or are not this and that. Everyone was now trying, because we lost a lot of business. And remember, people had grown to a level of, my business has grown to a level of, I'm employing people to run the business. But post-COVID, you'll realize most of the events business went back to the owners. Now it's the owners who are there physically running. Because now we lost a lot of our employees, a lot of our casuals, we had to let them go. And by the time you've done a lot of work on these people in terms of training, they've been with you in terms of upskilling, and then you let them go. When they go, they also are on a survival mode. So everyone has to also do something to survive. So by the time you're trying to recall them at sasa vitu zinakuwa poa, they've already moved on to other things.
Others actually have shifted industries.
I'm a farmer, I don't know, I'm a what, So it was a bit tough. So you're finding most of the businesses went back to the owners. Then you're finding the owners are there now physically, because now the business has to run. I no longer have my project managers. I no longer have the people who are running it for me. And so there was a slow growth back to profitability for the events practitioners. So I think that's one of the things I can say that really killed that drive that we had initially with EOAK. It doesn't mean all is lost. There are still a few more people who are now pushing, and we intend that in the next coming months that we just start pushing, because there's a lot of value that can be derived from associations. And even as we came together, many people can say they saw a lot of value. Just besides the networking, we saw a lot of values in terms of standardization, because then again, we had the undercutting was brought a lot about, since we were not together, I didn't know that you don't own tents. So you take tents from him, he gives you at a certain rate, you give me at a certain rate. So there was that chain of brokers that was cut by being in association. So you realize a bit more profit in terms of, since so and so is here, we also started giving each other preferential rates and all that. And again
All
post-COVID, just to kickstart our businesses, I think people gave each other a lot of support, especially in regards to welfare, which was really encouraging. So it means there's still hope. It doesn't mean all is lost.
Yeah. So after that COVID, the members of the businesses were not as stable. Some exited the industry.
Yeah.
And time to recall some of the members, they've actually switched industries. Others moved on, and that really crippled the subscriptions for the association. So far, is EOAK back? So are there plans to
We are still in talks with a few people within the leadership. One, because again, people moved on to other things, and there are some who had also issues that were unending, that were brought about by the COVID period. In regards to, you find even like debts, people got into debts, people had loans, there were unpaid money from jobs that you've done, because again at that time, in terms of our clauses, no one ever thought about the force majeure clause on your contracts, where if anything happened, no one ever expected there would be a calamity like that. A pandemic. There's no one on the contract who says a pandemic. So even if I took you to court to pay me my money, even you didn't know there would be a pandemic. So even the judge, there's nothing they can do there. So I think it really taught us a lot of things. So right now, in terms of restructuring, there's hope. We're talking with a few more people, because there's a lot of feedback and focus on associations.
Actually right now
there's a lot of focus on associations, and if people don't see the value now, it will be more painful later to try to join an association, because now the bus has already left. Actually, the time is not now, the time was yesterday. The second best time is today. To actually be in associations, and then it's just bringing like-minded people together, especially in terms of leadership, so that we can also now look at what does this value look like, because we already have the members, the people are there and they are willing. So what does this value look like that we can give to these members? And then with that, now it's the dedication and the commitment. Just that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little interesting. So how soon do you expect your KBB to be back, so that if there is someone who needs to join or inquire about the associations, actually it's very important, because in MICE we need to really strengthen the associations that you already have. Just avoid this too much fragmentation. So is MICE headed in the right direction?
Oh, it is. Because and I remember, I think during COVID, in terms of MICE, there was no traveling in and out. So a lot of those events went to hybrid. Weddings and events had to happen. Those are the only ones that were helping to kickstart the economy. Because even if the government regulated to about 50 packs per event, conferences, if you're having 20 people, you don't need a PA, because I can speak and you can hear me. You don't need a venue. We can host even in our own office room meeting. So even hotels really suffered. Other stakeholders, they really suffered with that COVID period. But now that it is here, now that we know, now that we have learned, so the question we keep on asking ourselves now, how are we ready in case something like that ever happens again? How are we ready? And so even when you look at the MICE industry, it's growing. It's really growing. If you are seeing, because Kenya is positioned as one of the preferential venues for MICE, because again, in terms of location, in terms of it's centralized, in terms of in Africa, like in terms of flight, like now it's partnering with many other stakeholders, from the hotels to the aviation sector to the government, so that we can also be able to regularize and have many more people, especially even training education institutions to train people, become those PCOs, so that your jobs don't go out there, because bulk of our jobs are going to Rwanda. Why? Because of the support they're getting there.
Yes.
They're getting the support there. Bulk of the jobs are going to also Tanzania as well. South Africa, they are because again, technology. Because can we leverage on tech? Because you lose a lot of the jobs because we don't have a lot of that event tech here in Kenya. I mean, so we need to also to look at that. And again, we can't do that because there's a lot of investment. So how will you get this investment as well? Again, banking sector. Are you sure you're going to finance the events companies, or we are not one of your focus? Because again, a lot of inventory is coming from the events people. So are we partnering with the relevant people so that we can also be able to take this MICE industry to the next level? Because again, how many venues do we have besides KICC? Besides maybe, is it the other than the Kenya government place where you can also hold a conference? How many places are open to be able to host the numbers? Because they are saying as the year goes, our numbers are growing, because we are saying an average of a conference right now hosting in Kenya is between maybe 500 to 800 packs per venue. So do we have venues that can be able also to host those large-scale events? And maybe because that's our only capacity that is known out there, do we have people who have invested in larger venues? Like I've gone to one in SA, infrastructure. One in SA, in Santon, they are hosting about it's a venue that was hosting 500 people here, 500 there, within the same building. For example, like a KICC building, it has like 10, 20 conferences happening, and in a day they have seen like 20,000 people.
Interesting.
So do we have such kind of infrastructure here in Kenya that can be able to support? You know, do we have someone who wants to invest? Yeah, we have a lot of malls. We are opening a lot of malls all over.
Right.
But the malls, you are diluting, because one mall is here, the next is here, the next is here. So what is the differentiator?
I get your point.
So we need to have proper infrastructure and also support.
More convention centers.
Convention centers.
Yeah, because actually I remember Chris also sat here, and Chris Kira was saying that one of the key issues we have with convention.
Chris has been championing for that for years. And one day people will see that he's been championing it for so long. If you go to his page, you'll always see that every other single day. And it's making a lot of sense. Because we conduct some of those events, but we don't have venues that have that capacity. Because with the capacity comes into other aspects in terms of safety, in terms of security, you know. So there are so many things we don't think about in terms of our venues.
Because some of the two venues that I've seen, they're quite doing something. The Edge Convention Center and Sarit. Actually, the Sarit Expo are really doing a good stuff. It's giving South Africa kind of vibe. They understood something, and I remember Mr. Sarit at Strathmore. We had a MICE roundtable forum, and he was saying how he was coming up with the design for the venue. So it's beamless. A very large venue that is that is situated within the mall, strategically located, and it's true. We actually need, as much as we also have KICC, it's an old infrastructure that again needs to be expanded. That also need to be renovated, and some investors, they come and say, okay, the venue need to be X, Y, and Z. It's not an ideal. Let's move to another country. So instead of bringing KICC down and bringing up a new one, no, because in fact even now it's considered a heritage. But how do we see bring investors, be it like new convention centers from scratch? And the best way also, as I also try to answer that, it's opening up counties. Counties, and if they're idle land, call up an investor, build a large convention center. I'm open to go to Turkana, Eastern. Coast Wapi, part of the country that just have a huge facility, and it's going to open up those counties and town on the same again, and also other side. So you mean now Kenya is heading the right direction?
Kenya is heading the right direction, but also one of the things we need to do is also diversify, because I realized that we also need to target those high growth areas like IT. Because IT, I was reading somewhere, it was taking about 25% of the market share of conferences, the MICE events.
It's tech-related.
Tech-related events, because we don't have them here.
The tech events?
Yeah, tech events. They are big. They are huge even in other countries. I think I've gone one in Thailand. I've seen one in Thailand, and there's one I've seen in SA. There's also an event called the Mobile World Congress, which is supposed even to be coming to Kenya, but it goes to Rwanda. It happens to Rwanda, in Rwanda.
Interesting.
So, and it's huge. You have industry players coming from all over the world. They converge in Rwanda for a Mobile World Congress. And can it be hosted in another country? And do you have the capacity? So like IT is huge. That's where we are heading. AI. That's where we are heading right now. So how can we leverage on such markets and also grow our industry? We are on the right track. We need to reconstitute the Kenya Conference Bureau, because by the time it was opening in 2019, it was being launched, they had a very good focus and strategy in terms of collaboration and even just how do we share best practices rather than compete with SA. rather than compete with TZ, rather than compete with Rwanda. How can we share collaborative, like Pan-African, the way we're talking about Pan-African, share collaborative best practices and see how can we collaborate with these other countries that, we giving information, because now we're saying Africa is like one country, as we can say it, where we want to also partner with each other, because I'm sure they have some events that are excess. Even in their country, we have events that are excess. How can we share this information? As you're saying about Turkana, yes, I wouldn't mind going to Turkana, but is there relevant infrastructure? Like even if it's flights, how much of a cost will it be in terms of I'm landing in Nairobi, then go to land again what is the cost aspect to it? Again, the reason why Nairobi is so central is because, again, as a hub, it is a hub. Nairobi is so centralized for people to connect flights to other regions, to Rwanda, to where. So Nairobi is so central. So why do they come and then now go to other places? They come and stay in. So make it also good for them, because this will also boost our tourism. It will boost our tourism. So it's something I feel that the more we collaborate with each other, even within associations, just borrow rather than open more associations. Let us beef the ones that are there and strengthen the ones that are there. That by the time these associations are growing, I'll not even think of opening another one. Why? Because there's a type of value I'm getting for this. So what is our competitive advantage? I'm getting value from this one, getting value from this. And there's nothing that stops me from being in 2 or 3 associations. I'm not talking about leadership. I'm just talking about being a member in different associations, because you don't want to have also the aspect of conflict of interest, where I'm a leader in one, I'm a leader in another one. That's a conflict. But as a member, I am allowed to be in different associations where I'm deriving value from each of them.
Okay, interesting. So something you really highlighted, and it's very important, it's to focus on industry specific events, and tech is something Kenya really needs to leverage on. Okay, because in fact, even today, at KCC, one of the recommendation, as they were conducting a validation workshop, it's, as a country, you also need to focus on specific industry specific events. One, it's through this, if it's agriculture, Kenya is good in agriculture, even medical. So let's harness this medical tourism, medical conferences. And also something that has really highlighted and it has been outplayed for the longest is the education sector. So how many education events, high profile education events do you have in the country? Like for agriculture, it's mature. So we have a flagship ASK show. So it's a flagship event for Kenya when it comes to agriculture. But do you have also a flagship event for tech in Kenya? Do you also have a flagship event for finance?
Exactly.
This time, actually, Kenya also has can tap or harness the potential for holding governance related event. Actually, Rwanda has been doing also that. So, but it's a potential that you also need to grasp on. So, part in short, what are some of the key part in short or recommendation as we talk about such event, what you guys do?
But my key takeaway is, even as today you've mentioned, you were just from, it was called the MICE.
It was a validation workshop for the national MICE strategy.
It means you're on the right track. So it means there's a goodwill. The goodwill is there. It means there's a strategy in place. It means there's someone who's thinking about it. So we just need people to partner with relevant and also be part of an association and push. I don't like to use this word, but you can do a bottoms-up approach where even us as a members, like now, go also and seek for value. Because even within the constitution, you are required to ask for value from the association you are a member of. And so if you're not getting the value, it's your right to move to somewhere else and move your money somewhere else. So I think even for us as members of other associations, we need to demand for the value from those associations that we are part of. And that way, I think one of the ideas that we had come up with, and I think it's what is this association? African Association for Association Executives. They had tried something, and what they were doing was let us come with an association like competition. Because when you are competing, your association is competing against ours, we are forced to give value. So it means there's also something that is happening there in the industry that will force you to give value, because if you're not, you also you lose members, crowd association. So I think one of the things is there's a goodwill is there, so we just need to wake up and work.
Let's start working.
Let's start working. Because we talk a lot, but we don't again walk the talk. We talk a lot about things that we're going to do, but we don't do them.
Okay.
And so there's always just that. Again, with the industry, there are gaps, and it has times and seasons. So we go with seasons. Things are bad, run to the association. Things are good, keep quiet.
So just need to pull up our sleeves.
And just get to work. Because the strategies are in place. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Strategies are in place. We just need people who are willing to work. We need people who are willing to do the time and do the work.
The heavy lifting. So you can take us through Sage events, what you guys do, if people need to reach out to you.
So I run a company called Sage Events. Again, as I said, we started from 2008. All the learning cups. So we activate your corporate events, your personal brands through creative event concepts, and we do that through our technical equipment and collaboration also with other industry partners. So we've been at it for the last 15 years. And you can call on us for professional events. One of the things I like is our quote is, we say peace of mind. Because there's nothing the client is looking for besides peace of mind, that I can give you a job and you deliver it with professionalism and ease. That when I give you this job, I don't care how you'll do it, but you'll give it with professionalism and ease. And it's value for money. We don't say cheap. We don't say we give lower market rates than anyone else, but we give you value for money. And that's what we do at Sage Events.
All right. So thank you for gracing our podcast. So I think your input was very important, and we are trying to shape the MICE conversation a step at a time. Because it's timely we really have this conversation. It's timely we really fix our homes, to fix our issues there internally as we try to go, as we go into international. And so that's good. So what's the parting shot you want to tell our viewers?
For me, it's just I'm grateful for also getting the opportunity just to be here. We just pull up our socks, and associations are the way to go. If you're not in one, please join one today. And as EOAK, we are sitting together, even as the leadership, and trying to just kickstart the already going good thing. So we invite you all to join associations if you're not part of it, and you're allowed even as a member to be part of 2 or 3 where you're getting the value. And so for me, it's just to call on other practitioners in the industry, like that. Let's come together and build up this industry to what it can be, because I am 110% sure that we can do much more than we are doing right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and that is it. We are the MICE Diary.
Thank you.